Welcome everyone to the Willows Park Preserve Perspective. Each month we hope to provide our audience with an informative program that will create more awareness about our new nonprofit organization, the Willows Park Preserve, located in Villanova. In 2017, a group of area residents came together and formed our nonprofit organization called the Willows Park Preserve. After 8 years of being closed, our founders wanted to revitalize this beautiful, historic home and give it back to the community for everyday use. In 2019, the Willows Park Preserve entered into a 25-year lease with Radnor Township, and we began our journey. My name is Will Nord, and I'm the Executive Director at the Willows Park Preserve, and I'm happy to be your host today. Today, we'd like to welcome Mary Coe, one of our board members at the Willows Park Preserve, to our program. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
Why don't you first introduce yourself? Tell us where you live, what you're doing, what organizations you're a part of.
I have lived in Radnor for the last 39 years. Before that, I grew up in the Hudson Valley, lower Hudson Valley, and spent some time living in D.C. For college and practiced as a lawyer early on after graduating from law school. I came here to Philadelphia for law school, went back to D.C., came back to Philadelphia, so I've been going up and down I-95 for a while. For the past 30 years, for 30 years, I was an attorney at the Federal Environmental Protection Agency's regional office in Philadelphia. I retired from that job 2 years ago, and since then I've been doing a lot of volunteer work. I do a lot of volunteer work for environmental organizations. I'm on the boards of two nonprofit organizations, Fairmount Park Conservancy and, of course, the Willows Park Preserve. I'm on the Radnor Township Parks and Rec Board, active member of the Skunk Hollow Community Garden, which is right next door to the Willows. I do wildflower and tree identification hikes for mainline school night, and I'm fairly active with Radnor League of Women Voters, and I'm on the Radnor Green Team. We're a group of people helping Radnor reach its renewable energy goals. So I'm pretty busy.
Pretty busy. Not really retired.
Not really retired, yeah.
So tell us when you joined the Willows Park Preserve as a board member, and tell us why you decided to join the board.
Well, I joined a little over a year ago at the urging of the then president, Tish Long, who really got things rolling in terms of restoration of the mansion. I wasn't really interested at first, only because I had so much on my plate already, but I found the mission of the organization was really irresistible, and I thought it was important that the mansion be preserved. I thought it was important for the completeness of the park. I thought it was important for the community. And I just thought it was a place of a lot of really good memories of the people in Radnor Township, and could be a place where new memories could be made. So I think it was those goals that convinced me that I would try to squeeze this into an already busy schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did.
Good. We're glad you did too. Having lived in Radnor for many, many years, and thinking about all your trips and experiences over at the Willows, what would you say are some of your fondest memories?
Oh, golly. Like so many Radnor people, I have a lot of memories of the Willows. I've been there for weddings. I've been there for birthday parties. I've been there for memorial services. I've gone to the craft show that they used to hold in the winter every year. I even voted there once because it was a polling place one year for my ward. So it's hard to single out any one event or occasion. Because it's such a beautiful place and so full of history, it's hard for any event there not to be memorable.
Right. And I think, as a new organization, this obviously because we've had these conversations. We're trying to draw out all these memories.
Right.
We're trying to bring people back to the Willows Park because, as you said, there have been so many events over there throughout the years, whether it was a wedding or whether it was a PTA meeting or
right.
something involving, Radnor High School or Radnor Middle School. And I think that's the special part about the Willows Park in general, but also that house, the Willows Park Preserve, that mansion. Before I came over, I actually just met a family that was married there in front of the fountain wall in that courtyard in 1997, and they now live in Florida and haven't been back here in years, and and had a great opportunity to come tour the mansion and take a picture where they got married, many years ago. So one of the pieces that we're working on right now at the Willows Park Preserve, and this was in our newsletter that just went out, our April newsletter that just went out a few weeks ago, is we want to collect these memories. So if there are residents or people in the greater Philadelphia area that have memories of the Willows Park or even photos, to share them with us, email them, and so we can share in future newsletters and maybe even post on our website, house on our website, so we can have a tab, because I think that's the special part about the Willows, and I think will drive the success of our organization, is bringing back all those memories and being able to share them with community members. So you'll hear more about that in the community, about bringing back some of those memories and sharing. So we talked about our mission at the Willows Park Preserve has layers. So our priority, I guess it's fair to say, our priority number one is to restore the mansion. It was closed for 8 years. It's been another 3 years. So it's fair to say it's essentially been closed for at least 10 years. Right. So our priority is to restore the mansion, bring it back up to code, freshen it up, improve some of the rooms. So that's a piece of what we're doing. We also want to do that in order to provide accessibility. So talk to us about that accessibility and some of the plans for the mansion.
One big part of our mission, in addition to restoration, is the community use piece. We want to open it up. So yes, I guess number one there would be opening up the house, making it an open house for the community to use for rather casual uses, stopping by, having lunch with friends out on the terrace, reading a book, having a book club there, whatever, and just enjoying the building and the immediate surroundings. We want, and that would be every day. I don't know if it would be 365 days a week, but it would be just about every day for a certain period of time. And open to the public would be the terraces and the surrounding property, the courtyard, the Wishing Well Circle, but also some of the interior spaces, the solarium and what used to be the billiards room. So there will be interior spaces as well. So that's just sort of low-key, unscripted, unprogrammed usage for anybody. In addition to that, though, more organized and more formal would be programming and events that the Willows Park Preserve puts on. So that would be a lot of the things that we've been doing lately, although we've been doing it via Zoom instead of on the premises because of COVID reasons, but more lectures and seminars on things like the arts or historic preservation or nature and the environment or relevant topics that people in Radnor would be interested in. And also some outdoor things as well in the park or next door with Skunk Hollow. As you know, we've done some good segments on the history of mainline mansions in the area and a few other things. So we want to use it for that sort of thing as well. And then even more formally is making the spaces, both the terraces and some of the interior rooms, available for private events, birthdays, weddings, corporate retreats, meetings, things that it's been used for in the past, crafts fairs, things that historically it had been used for. And hopefully those will be revenue producing for us so that the mansion can be self-sustaining. So that's a critical piece as well.
Yeah, the part that we obviously, the board and myself, we talk a lot about is the accessibility piece, where, there's beautiful properties and parks and mansions all throughout the main line in the greater Philadelphia area, but they're not all accessible unless you go to a private event. And I think that's what will be a small difference than compared to some of the other estates around the area that just will open up for weddings, or if you rent that facility out, where if if our audience is familiar with the solarium part of the Willows Mansion and that one additional room, which we call the billiard room, because I believe it once was a billiard room.
Presumably.
Two of those rooms will be, like you said, accessible throughout the day. You know, I think I said it on a program, you know, a couple months ago. I was thinking about this winter and all the snow, coming in out of the snow, getting in out of the cold, or, you know, the heat will be here before we know it. And to get out of
Coming out of the heat.
Getting out of the heat. So yeah, just to have that accessibility just for the day-to-day is great. And then you mentioned the another layer, or just to be clear, is the kind of the private events. Per our lease with Radnor Township, we're only allowed to have 25 major events a year. And again, as you mentioned, that will hopefully provide us with enough revenue to maintain our operational costs year to year. I've been telling people, and I hope others feel this way, that 25 I like that number, because the you know, Radnor Township used to run over 130 weddings a year. And the more private events that, you know, we are to run, the less that the community the public can use from day to day. So I think it's a friendly number. We obviously crunched the numbers to make sure that the 25 events would provide enough revenue, so it would work for us.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance. Plus, I think that the community will, in addition to wanting to use it for community programming and then for the casual, I just took a walk in the park, I need a place to sit down type use, they will be among the primary users, I'm suspecting, for the private uses, because they remember their high school graduation there or a wedding anniversary party there. So in a sense, even those private events are going to be, one would hope, largely folks from the local community.
Yeah, absolutely. And the 25 events will be larger events, like a large 150-person wedding. There are still plenty of opportunities to hold smaller meetings and smaller get-togethers and gatherings.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not within the 25 limit. Those smaller little, like a book club or something like that, or a small luncheon or something. The League of Women Voters wants to do something like that at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday. That kind of thing is going to be available as well.
So the bulk of the rest of the conversation today, we wanted to spend on that other layer. So there's this accessibility, there's these these private events, but there's also this big piece of education, health, and wellness programs that we're really excited to start running, and we've actually already started running them. Some of them will be absolutely be in collaboration with Radnor Parks and Rec, as you know, and I think just makes sense because they have already been running great events there at the park. So we'll continue to do so and collaborate with them. But there'll also be events and programs that we run on our own. So first, before we talk about some maybe specific events, can you talk to the importance of education, health, and wellness programs, kind of in general at the Willows, being in a pandemic, moving forward?
Yes, I mean, I think it was critical to everybody's sanity this year to go outside for open space, for fresh air, for exercise, and to get out of the house, basically. And we are part of a really wonderful park system with the Willows and Skunk Hollow. So I think it's ideal that we are right there to collaborate with the township on activities in both of those parks. Whether it be Arboretum Tours or hikes through the woods to look at wildflowers or tree identification, or collaborating with Skunk Hollow Community Garden on gardening. I think that people discovered or rediscovered just how important that being outdoors element was to their physical and mental health, and which is a good thing and a bad thing, because it's good in the sense that people now really appreciate that again and are using our park resources, which are wonderful in Radnor, but it also means we need to meet that increased demand, because I don't think the demand is necessarily going to go away. And that means more open spaces or more outdoor recreational opportunities, and of course there's more maintenance and the whole thing. But I do welcome that, and I'm glad that we're going to be a part of that. And I also wanted to echo your remarks, but the township has just done a wonderful job on recreation and programming during a horrendously challenging year, so hats off to them.
Yeah, And I can, yeah, they have done a nice job, and I can attest to the use at the Willows, having, just started in December, but having worked there through the winter, through the snowstorms and through the cold, there were plenty of visitors at the park, and it, like you said, it's needed in this time. But I agree, it's not going to go away. Nope. There's going to be more and more people wanting to get outside, and the first place that they might want to get outside and where they feel safe, and they can still socially distance, is at a park. So I think we're at a great advantage there, and excited to not only just have those, the informal opportunity to just walk the park by yourself or with friends or family, but then also to provide some more formal programming. So a couple programs that we've run in the past that we're offering actually right now, and that we'll continue to offer probably through the summer and into the fall. One, we can start with one, is Arboretum Tours. So can you tell us about our Arboretum, and then tell us a little bit about what would an Arboretum tour entail?
You could see my face light up when you mentioned Arboretum. I'm such a tree lover. I think most people in Radnor don't know that one of the first things that the Willows Park Preserve accomplished was getting the Willows Park certified as a level 1 arboretum because of the number and variety of trees at the park. And this is an honor that we share with no less than Chanticleer. So we're very proud of that. Yes, we've had a couple tours. We will continue to do tours because the trees aren't going anywhere. They're there, and I'm happy to lead a tour anytime to talk about trees. But what will you find at the Willows that you've been walking by and not understanding our very interesting little features of our park? We have a lot of familiar trees like oaks and maples and what have you that people think they recognize, but they don't necessarily know some of the more interesting stories about even the most common trees. And then we have some very interesting trees that people maybe never heard of that have even more interesting stories. So if you went on an Arboretum tour, you would find out about the trees that have knees, the tree that poisons its neighbors, the tree that inspired barbed wire fencing and used to be a source of food for woolly mammoths and giant sloths. And you will find the tree that is the living fossil standing right next to the Willows Mansion. So it's a very colorful, informative, entertaining, I hope, tour.
So from that description, I tell me otherwise, I can envision a 14-year-old and a 60-year-old enjoying this tour.
Yes, I think there's something for everybody.
Okay, excellent. We actually had the pleasure of meeting Tom from Bartlett Tree Experts in our last program, so we got into some more specifics about the Arboretum, but any chance that we can tell our audience in the community that, hey, we have an Arboretum, and an official level 1 Arboretum, I think is pretty cool to share.
Very cool.
So yeah, we've offered a couple Arboretum tours. We had one last Sunday, and I think it's something that is fun and kind of easy to offer as well. So be on the lookout for more of those tours. Another tour that you have given is a Wildflower Tour. And the first one that we're presenting is going to be virtual, but I assume sometime in the near future we can also have an in-person live Wildflower Tour. So give us a little sneak peek into what that would look like.
Those are really fun too. I've been doing Wildflower Tours at the Willows in Skunk Hollow for Mainline School Night for a number of years, and I do it occasionally for friends of mine or also for other environmental groups. And they're really fun. We do the Wildflower Tours in the spring because that's when the spring ephemerals are coming out for a very brief period of time before the trees leaf out. They do their entire photosynthesis thing and then they're done and they retreat back into the ground. So you have to catch them while you can. Right now, the wildflowers are at their absolute peak at the Willows in Skunk Hollow, late April through early May. Putting on a spectacular show, especially this year. I don't know why this year, but everything is blooming at once and they're hanging in there longer than they usually do. So It's a great time to be walking back there in the woods, and as I tell the people on the hikes, you have to look down, just keep looking down, because these are little gems that are here and there along the forest floor that you may have walked by a million times and not even noticed before. So yes, hopefully we will be doing them. Things slow down in the wildflower department in the summer a bit, and then come back in the fall with more meadow type wildflowers. So, but it's something that can go pretty much, the warmer months. And then in the winter, we can do tree identification tours, because there's a lot of fun involved with that, identifying trees by their barks and their bud and their buds and their leaves and their what have you. So there's plenty to do in the park and the woods as far as wildflowers and trees are concerned.
Your gardening series. So you in collaboration with some members of Skunk Hollow Garden, presented already twice. If I'm not mistaken, there were at least 25 participants in each series. They were done virtually. So tell us about that, and then the 2 additional upcoming.
Yeah, what we've already done, and we did them virtually because it was still pretty cold out back then. And we couldn't do them inside at the mansion. We did sessions 1 and 2 on the basic theme is growing your own vegetable and herb garden, pretty mundane title. And it really goes from soup to nuts, starting and ending with how to start and end your garden, what to grow, how to build a garden bed, what are the factors you want to consider, what are good plants to grow, things like companion gardening and square foot gardening and crop rotation. So the first 2 sessions covered the getting started notions for someone who maybe has never done this before or needs a good refresher, or just wants to pick up 1 or 2 new tips that they weren't aware of before. Upcoming in the end of May or the beginning of June, we will try to do an outdoor one, weather cooperating. We may need to have a rain date for that, at Skunk Hollow Community Garden. We're going to talk more about garden maintenance. Now that your stuff is in the ground, what do you have to do to keep it healthy, to keep it growing? How do you harvest? That sort of thing. And then in October, we will do a session on putting your garden to bed or letting it stay up late. Using cold frames or row covers so that you can grow crops through the winter, which many of the people in Skunk Hollow did very successfully last year.
And for a gardening series like this, again, one of our goals is to offer a variety of different programs, but also for a variety of different ages. Yes. So I can see, young kids learning about gardening maybe alongside their parents with this series.
Yeah, absolutely, because we did this at a pretty basic level, but we also tried to throw in a few cool things that even relatively experienced gardeners might not have been aware of. New trends, new theories, new types of new cultivars of vegetables, what have you. But again, the idea of how to plant a seed in a little seed cup and watch it grow into a seedling and when to transplant it, that's all the sort of stuff that you may remember doing in 3rd grade or something that you were so excited about. And so I think it was something that was suitable for all levels. Certainly the hands-on part in May or June will be a lot of fun for the kids, because they can get down and dirty in the dirt. And
just to be sure, you did not have to register or attend the first 2 to attend.
Oh, absolutely not. They're all in sequence. So okay. No, I mean, you may have. It might have been nice to know how to build your raised garden before embarking on that, but it's not required. No, it's not like college courses, and there's something to be learned at every stage. So
great. So what else? What have we done? What other programs have we done or events have we done maybe in the past or that we're planning pretty soon or even maybe for later in the summer or fall? What's on the schedule, or hopefully on the schedule?
We're just wrapping up our series on historic mansions in the area. This I think the 4th lecture is coming. It might be tonight, actually.
It is. Yeah.
And that, I think, has been incredibly successful. The attendance has been amazing. It's been, again, online, but fabulous attendance and lots of good comments on the presentations. We covered Chanticleer and Woodcrest, which is now Cabrini, and we're going to be finishing up with the Willows and its more immediate neighbors, so that'll be fun. And I suspect we will do more of that because it was so popular, either throughout the summer or in the fall, until we run out of historic mansions, which isn't going to happen for a long time because we have quite a few. We also have 3 summer outdoor concerts scheduled for the courtyard at the mansion, and we're lining up those performers now. We had 3 concerts last year outdoors on the lawn, and they were very successful, notwithstanding all the COVID restrictions, which we had to follow, which we will continue to follow. But it was very safe. Everyone was comfortable. The performances were great, and it went off very well. So we'll be doing some of that. And then we have a zillion ideas for other types of programs. We just have to figure out what to do and what are people most interested in, and can we get interesting speakers in. And what we would love is to hear from the community on what they would like us to present programs on. So we don't want to leave anybody out of the conversation. We want to hear from everyone. We want everyone in Radnor, in the community, to feel that they are being served by this organization. So people need to let us know what they'd like to hear about and to do.
Yeah, that's a great reminder that we absolutely want community involvement and feedback.
Yes.
So if there are ideas or suggestions about future programming, to email us, to reach out to us and provide suggestions, because we can sit as a small group and have some good ideas, but if our programming and events are for the community, it makes a lot of sense to hear from the community.
Yeah,
so,
we want it to be very broad-based and inclusive.
Well, tell us, just we're finishing up here. We got another minute or two, but tell us how besides reaching out and giving us feedback and suggestions, tell us some other ways that the community can get involved with the Willows Park Preserve.
Well, there are a lot of ways. First, become a member of the Willows Park Preserve, and information on becoming a member at various levels is available on our website, and I'm assuming it's on our social media as well. So that's one thing to do. Secondly, we have a lot of volunteer cleanup days, and we advertise those as well on our website. This involves cleaning up on the outside, raking leaves, picking up sticks, mulching plants, planting annuals, that kind of stuff. And it's kind of fun. It's outdoors. It's good exercise. You meet people. We'll probably do some more interior work this year if COVID allows. Last year, we really couldn't do that. Coming to our programs, enjoying our programs is a way to be engaged, and spreading the word on them, and also, of course, giving us information on what people would like to hear. Using our space now that it's available on the terraces and inside for events, for parties, for clubs, for corporate retreats, for graduations, for whatever, is another way to be engaged and to use this gorgeous property. And then finally, donations. As you know, we've been pretty much living on donations, pending getting things going on revenue-producing private events. So donations are, let's just say, strongly welcomed at this point, and probably for the foreseeable future.
Great. Well, I think we just run out of time, but thank you, Mary, very much for joining us today. We appreciate all you do for the Willows Park Preserve, and especially leading all our programming and events initiatives and efforts. So more to come on that, and thank you for bringing up the space that is available for celebrations and gatherings. More information on those pieces, availability and fees to come. We will be posting them shortly on our website and on social media. But for now, thank you all for joining us for the Willows Park Preserve Perspective. If you want more information about the Willows Park Preserve, you may go to our website, which is www.willowsparkpreserve.org. So thank you all for joining us. Hopefully you can join us next month.